What's up? Let's go. It's time for the Top Button Podcast, episode 1. I'm pretty pumped right now, not just because this is episode 1, but as I started recording, Cam Coleman just went 73 yards to the house in the state championship game. I don't want to spoil too much about what we're going to talk about later, but what better way to start the show than just 100% full boog. Guys, I'm pumped. This has been something that has been, kind of, like I said, a long time coming. I'm excited. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more Auburn talk, a little bit more in-depth stuff that, I may not want to say to get Zach in trouble. Just kind of air it all out there. Have fun. I want to talk a little bit of portal tonight, talk a little high school recruiting, and then I've already spoiled it, but definitely dive in. I kind of want to do a little piece on each commit, each signee, but you got to start at the top. You got to start with Cam Coleman, who's having an absolutely huge state championship game right now, but we'll get to that. Start off when we start talking about portal, I think we need to kind of discuss sort of where we are and where we've come from and what to kind of maybe expect how this thing's going to play out. So this is the second full winter semester of the portal where kids know they go in and they have a chance to have immediate playing time at the next school that they choose to attend. Okay. Remember, last fall was the first time that was a thing. You could transfer free. You didn't have to sit out. Everybody knew it. The ruling had come down, and it was kind of the wild, wild west. You didn't really have a ton of time to scout. You didn't have a ton of time to really know the market value of what these players are going to bring. It was just kind of, hey, get it while you can get it, get who you can get, and just kind of see the way it goes. And on top of that, we had a coaching change. We had, luckily, a couple of guys that had relationships with, Philip Montgomery had a, relationship with a Dylan Wade. And then you had, had a couple of more that ended up like that, Jaden Muskrat. Then you had, you go out and you get a couple of big players, but a lot of times when you're recruiting in the portal, not a lot of times, the portal, when you're recruiting, it's not when the portal opens, you start recruiting. You got to be on these guys for the whole season. You got to be scouting the whole season. And then, a lot of times they're talking to you through their coaches that are reaching out. Hey, my guy might be this guy that played for me might be wanting to go into the portal. Would he be somebody that would be interested? And then, that's the way the kind of information just flows back and forth. So we were way behind the 8 ball. When you bring in a new staff, luckily you had the previous holdover staff had done a really good evaluation on Rivaldo Fairweather. You got him early. And then it was just kind of who do we have the budget for? Who do we, you got a NIL changeover that was just a few months earlier. So they're trying to take care of current player contracts and get their footing. So it was complete chaos. Okay. So your first portal window, you landed a couple of guys that I think made huge impacts, and hopefully we're going to retain a couple of those. And there's a couple that are younger that are going to continue to be big players for us moving forward. So then you go into the spring. And then spring, we kind of got our bearings a little bit, but still, your spring players were slim pickings. Those are the guys that, I don't like where I'm at really on the depth chart. Maybe you get one or two that are going to just try to go see if they can get a check. But for the most part, it's like you just try to take the best that you can get. And that's where we picked up, we took a gamble on Jair Shorter, who was an extremely explosive receiver at North Texas, but he just plagued with injuries. If the guy could be healthy, there's no telling what kind of player he could be, but he was just plagued with injuries. And we kind of got a bad taste in our mouth on, maybe some G5 type players. We just kind of got a bad taste in our mouth because some of them didn't pan out. Last portals, it was just chaos. This year, I think you're going to see a whole different a completely different approach. Okay. You've had dudes that have been sitting in their office, basically watching film, grading players, coming up with like values. I mean, I kind of equate it to like a draft board, an NFL team's, a GM's draft board or free agency, where you kind of have, you assign the value to, you know, Moneyball. Like you've seen the movie Moneyball. It's got to be something kind of like that. Like this receiver is worth this, but he's going to bring us this much. This linebacker is worth this. He's going to bring us this much. So everybody's going to kind of, all the recruits, it's going to be like a puzzle. It's going to be like pieces of the puzzle that you put together. And but the thing is, we're ready for it. We're ready for it. So you've already seen offers go out early. You've already seen visits that are lined up immediately. A lot of action, and I think that you're going to start to see after this weekend. This is a big visit weekend. We've already got a big offensive lineman, possibly one of the top offensive linemen that we're looking at, Bedford from Indiana. Senior, 1 year left, big offensive guard. He's played for 3 or 4 years. massive human. He's here already. And then you got a couple more offensive linemen, possibly a wide receiver coming in. So the balls are starting to roll, but I would just challenge everyone to kind of be patient, because I tell you, like I said on the show on Tuesday, the portal ain't even open good yet. Like there's still going to be some dudes that are going to go in. There's still going to be some of these guys that go in after their bowl games. There's going to be guys that go in after their playoff games. Okay. It's not, this isn't it. Okay. December 5th is just the first time you can go in. So be patient on that. Another thing that kind of came up last week was, I got in kind of a Twitter. There was a little bit of a Twitter dust up. I got a little bit aggravated. I'm not going to lie, that some Auburn fans were kind of poo-pooing on a North Texas receiver, Jamori Macklin, brother of Jeremy Macklin, who was an NFL star for the Eagles, great wide receiver for Missouri, because he played at North Texas. That's literally it. We didn't watch film. We haven't watched film on this guy. We haven't done anything. We just say, hey, we had an experience with a North Texas guy, so no North Texas guy can ever be good. Basically, that's what you're saying when you say let's don't go that route again. That's basically what you're saying. Just because he wore a green jersey, he can never be good. And subsequently, the guy deletes his tweet, his offer tweet from Auburn, and we kind of turned him off. Now, I'm not saying he was the he was the number one target. I'm not saying he was a X factor. I'm not saying that he was our savior and we ruined it. All I'm saying is, just because you got a bad taste in your mouth with G5 type players does not mean that you can't have great success with G5 players. And I can give you a litany of examples. Jalen Key, starting safety for Alabama this year. He came from UAB last year. He had a great year. Trey Harris, probably one of the best receivers in the SEC for Ole Miss, came from Louisiana Tech. Jamari Thrash from Georgia State. There's another kid we're looking at possibly we've offered from Georgia State that's in the portal right now. He came from Georgia State. He had 1,000 yards. He goes to Louisville, has almost 1,000 yards again. Auburn has had a couple of G5 guys. Dylan Wade, probably the best offensive lineman on our team that we're hoping that comes back. Jalen McLeod, came in a little bit banged up. He started to pick up towards the end of the season, had a big sack productive year. And we're hoping he comes back. Like, he's hopefully going to be a big factor. I can keep going. I can name you several. Zy Alexander came from FCS, and he started corner for LSU. Braden Fisk. You just watch Braden Fisk. He was from Western Michigan. They didn't even put his name on his back of his jersey at Florida State. He was like the best player on the field in the ACC championship game. 55. No name on the back of his no name on the back of his jersey. I was mad because Gunner Auburn Glenn, Brock Glenn, was carrying around the game ball. I was like, give that ball to Fisk. Like, that guy was a beast. Western Michigan. G5. So like understand that this is not like the spring portal of this past year where you're just offering bodies to try to get bodies. Like they've watched these guys. They have scouted these guys. There's going to be some P5 guys that we're going to go after. And there's going to be some G5 guys that we go after. Okay. That's just, and there's going to be some G5 guys that everybody goes after. Because if you can play, you can play. And they're going to find you. They're going to find you. So I think we just got to chill a little bit. I think some stuff's going to happen, start rolling, possibly, this weekend. Like I said, you got some visits coming in. I think there's going to be some stuff start rolling in. It's going to be fun. Portal season is, to me, if I could just be there, be on staff, be part of that. I just feel like that would be so much fun. It's like you're doing DraftKings. Like you got an X amount of salary and you got to spend it all to get the most amount of points. Like that's what it feels like to me. You got to get, okay, if I get this wide receiver that costs 10,000, that means I got to get a tight end at, 3 or 4,000. I got to get a running back at 6 or 7. You got to make that budget work to give you because you're trying to get the most points. So that's basically what it is, but you're just doing it in real life. And I think that is just, I'm one of the very few that maybe not very few. I'm one of the huge proponents for the portal, because I love seeing kids like those ones I just named that now have the opportunity to go play on the biggest level, go play at the highest level, and go try to win a national championship, or go try to get a paycheck, man. Go try to get increase your NFL stock. I love it. I love it. I love the freedom, because I feel like Auburn is a great place regardless. And this is just another avenue to bring kids in to play for Auburn, to sell Auburn to kids. And I feel like we have a staff now that actually enjoys doing that, enjoys selling Auburn, enjoys recruiting. So it's just new avenues for players. And I think anytime you can do that, you can succeed. And it gives Auburn a chance to, maybe make this turnaround a little bit quicker. You're pounding the high school ranks, and you can hopefully this year, you're not going to have to bring in 20 guys. Maybe you just bring in 12 to 15. I think that would be kind of ideal. Just sort of kind of wean yourself back to where you can get yourself in a position where you can go bust one and get Walter Nolan, the number one player in the portal, who's a freak defensive lineman, who's probably going to, get paid well over $500,000 to come play a year, to go play somewhere, but there's some teams out there that they're already established. They don't have to go find 10 different players, 10, 12 different players. They just got to go find, a handful, 3 or 4. And you got the flexibility to, drop the big bag. Whereas we have to be a little bit more judicious, spread it around a little bit. I think that's why you're not seeing, I think that's why we're probably not going to bring in a portal quarterback. I think we had an idea of who we wanted. I don't think that's really a secret. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that Riley Leonard was our guy. I think that was the guy that we wanted to go with. We felt like we could sacrifice not having to pay big time for a portal wide receiver. And because we felt like Riley he could elevate that room. He's just that good. He's that good to kind of carry the team through rushing, through, making big throws, standing in the pot. I mean, the dude's he's an NFL quarterback. I mean, he is an NFL quarterback. He could be drafted this year in the middle rounds. I'm not saying it's done with him. If he doesn't come out of this weekend committed to Notre Dame pretty quickly, I think all bets are off. But I think he's, asking a little bit more than we probably value him. And none of the other guys that we're really talking to, I just don't feel like I don't know that they elevate the room to where you can just lean on them and these freshman kids that we're bringing in. So that brings us back to Peyton Thorne and Holden Gierner, both guys that have talent, Peyton's shown that he can throw for 3,000 yards when he has, he's surrounded by good talent. So now, does Peyton offer you the ability, the budget to, go out and find you 2 or 3 playmakers at wide receiver, find you 2 or 3 bigger time offensive linemen, maybe there's a blockbuster offensive tackle that could pop in the portal out there that you're waiting on, that you've been scouting. It's just those little things, like I said, DraftKings. It's kind of like DraftKings. We've Holden, do you want to let Holden go and then go have to pay somebody to come in and be a backup? How hard of a sell is that going to be? And Holden, Hugh has always talked highly of how much arm talent Holden has. So what can you do? How can you build around those guys moving forward? I think that's the biggest question. And does keeping them allow you the budget to be able to really retain a Rivaldo Fairweather, retain a Dylan Wade, just those 2 pieces right there. Go out and get a big outside wide receiver. Go get you another dynamic slot that can play opposite Caleb Burton, or, if Javarius Johnson or Jay Fair, want to stay. I feel like at least one of those is probably gone. I'm not really sure who, but do you go get another dynamic slot guy? I really like the Colin Lacey kid. I think he's probably the best player in the portal. Texas A&M was on him immediately. They may throw out a crazy bag. I'm not saying he's going to go there, but they may throw out a crazy bag and he may go. But there's so many good players. I already kind of hinted on him, but Robert Lewis from Georgia State, he could be a great backup option to Colin Lacey, who is both of those are G5 guys. We know Georgia State dudes. We've seen a Georgia State kid go to a P5 school and essentially be one of their best players on offense. And he came from Georgia State. So, why there's no reason to just write off and say, there's no reason to say he's going to succeed because he's from Georgia State. And there's no reason to say he's not going to succeed just because he's from a G5, or that you settled just because he's a G5, because there's some high bidding wars over some G5 or some G5 kids, a group of 5 kids, smaller school kids. So, again, it's going to be so much fun to watch it unravel. I'm hoping that, there's going to be just a constant update of information going. So hang in there, be patient. Because I kind of feel like once dominoes start falling, because I feel like players are going to be tied to others, not necessarily relationship wise, but budget wise. Like, we have our top tier wide receiver, and you got to pair him outside wide receiver, and you got to pair him with a tier 3 slot guy, and then vice versa. We have a tier 1 slot guy that you got to pair with a tier 3 wide receiver. But you're going to see stuff. You're going to see dominoes, I feel like, fall like that quite often throughout this whole process. So it's going to be fun. So just sit tight, and I'll try to keep you in the loop between here and on Locked On Auburn. The next thing I want to talk about, obviously, so we got portal talk. Let's talk a little high school recruiting. Signing day is within 2 weeks. I think it's the 20th. So time's kind of running out. You got basically 2 big visit weekends left for high school guys. And if they haven't, most of them have already done their official visits, but you can still host them for unofficials. Right now is pretty much in-home Hugh season. It was a great hashtag coined, not by me. The name escapes me on Twitter, but I gave him a shout out. I think that's hilarious because it's so true. It is in-home Hugh season. This is when Hugh shines. This is when he goes and closes. This is when he goes and he gets to be in front of the moms, the dads, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents. He gets to say the blessing for dinner. He gets to, be in home, and that's where he really, really thrives. And, he's already had a big in-home visit with KJ Bolden, who I think the the momentum's really picking up with. I've heard some other things that I don't really want to go into, but I'll just say that Florida State may be making a lot of promises they can't keep. So we'll see how that plays out. And if we do pull off the flip with KJ Bolden, I don't think that'll be the only flip from FSU, not necessarily to Auburn, but other places. I think there could be a little blood in the water there. Let's just leave it at that. But you got 19 commits. I think you're going to lose at least one. I don't think it's going to be one that we're going to be incredibly sad about. I don't want to really put the kid's name out there. If you're on any message boards or you're out there, you kind of know the situation. You know who it is. So I think you're probably going to have him decommit. I'm not sure if he'll decommit before signing day or if he'll decommit on signing day and flip. But technically you're realistically probably at 18 commits. You're looking at probably adding, maybe 5 to 6 more. 5 to 6 more. That'll put you around 23-ish, which I think is fine for the first class. And there's some big names out there that you're still going for. You got KJ Bolden, you got LJ McCray, 2-5. Those are both 5 stars right there. You got the Ryan Williams out there that you're pushing really hard for, who I think is going to announce his reclass here pretty quick. Then you got Amaris Williams now that's committed to Florida that you've been working behind the scenes, who's kind of committed to come for a visit. I mean, there is a realistic pathway to and it's not insanely far-fetched. There's a realistic pathway to a top 5 class year one, which I think would be absolutely remarkable. All things considered, the way the season played out, the way, the PR that you had to overcome when you're first hired, the relationships you had to build from scratch, coming from Liberty to here, the relationships you had to start up from scratch, and you're able to. And another thing that's crazy is your best commits were all flips. Your 4 or 5 best commits were all flipped from other schools. That's insane. Like normally you get what? Used to, if you got one and it was a good one, you're fired up. Now, I mean, Hugh goes out and the last ones I've mentioned are all going to be flips as well. Would all be flips as well. It's crazy. It's crazy that that he's been able to do what he's been able to do. The difference in this year and next year you're going to see is insane. Like we've already have 4 4-star defensive linemen committed for 2025. I'm not even going to get to 2025 yet, but like that just goes to show you trenches are important. We're going to probably lack in them in the high school ranks this year, but they're already sitting really, really well with some high school offensive linemen. You got one commitment. You're probably going to flip a 5-star from Georgia. You're probably leading for another high 4-star from Mobile. So you got the plan is there. It's clear that they're gonna pound the trenches hard. You're just going to have you're going to have to really hope that you pull off some of these big flips, or your line classes in the high school will probably be the weakest part of this year's class. But I don't see us really reaching past these guys that I've listed. Your LJ McCrae's, your KJ Boldens. I don't see you going out. I don't see us going out there and just getting filler guys. If you've been around recruiting, you know what I'm saying, you just go take a body. I don't really see us doing a ton of that. I think the reason why is because you just go to the portal. You just go get a freshman or a sophomore kid, that's been in a college weight room for a couple of years, and supplement your depth chart that way. I think that's what you do until you can get to a point where you're bringing in your 4 to 5 linemen on both sides of the ball every single year, which I don't see past this year that ever happening again. Like I said, you already got 4 massive dudes, high 4-star guys on the defensive line already committed for 2025. So I just don't think – I think 23, 24 is the ideal number. But if you miss out on some of these top guys, I just don't see a lot of reaching. So, if you miss on 2 or 3, you could see a 20 to 22 player class. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, depending on what you do in the portal. One thing that's crazy is if you look at the different sites rate their players different ways, and they rank the teams different ways. But for the majority of them, they have like you take your top 20 commits or your top 17, and then they get you your the best players of those top 17, top 20, and then it spits you out a score. So on 3, Auburn sits at 11 right now, but their average player ranking from top to bottom. Okay, this is not your top 17. This is not your top 20. This is every single player in the class. Okay, so your lowest one is ranked right in there with your highest one. It's all factored in. Auburn's 11th in points. They're 5th in average player ranking when you look at the industry average, which for On3, which takes all of the different scoring methods from the different sites and comes up with an industry average ranking. I think that's incredible. Like, who cares about ranking when you're top 5 in the country in an average player that's coming into your class? I just think that's something a little bit more to watch than just where you finish in the team rankings. Really look at that average player that you're bringing in and how it stacks up with the rest of the SEC, how it stacks up with the rest of the country. And as it sits right now, Auburn's number 5 in the country in average player ranking. You add a KJ Bolden, you're going to skyrocket, because you're going to absolutely skyrocket, and you're going to skyrocket in the On3 rankings too, because On3 just takes your top 17. So we have 18. That's going to not only kick out one of your lower ranked ones, it's going to put one of the higher ranking kids in your class. It's going to make your ranking jump up high. So recruiting is one of the things that I'm the most into. It's one of my most. If you want me to boog, I will boog hard over recruiting. I love it. It's so much fun, and it's so much fun to have a staff that really, really champions it and is passionate about it and goes hard. I'm talking hard. Hugh Freeze is a maniac. Like, I can't imagine the life. Like, what is his quality of his life during recruiting season and football season has to be like, I don't know when you sleep, or if you sleep, it's very little. It's very little, and you're getting up at midnight when dead periods are ended, and you got all your coaches calling kids when dead periods are ending at like midnight. It's they don't miss the little things that make you a good recruiting staff. And I think that he could probably use a little bit more help. I think there's you're going to probably see a little bit of staff shakeup. I don't know if it's going to be a ton, but hopefully whatever happens, you're bringing in some help to help you recruit like that, or help you get after it recruiting. So I like where we're headed. I love this class. I think it's got some extremely high-end talent. One that I'm about to talk about, I just watched the replay of his 73-yard touchdown again. And I just think we're in for a fun ride. Now, whether or not he can take those guys and develop them and win is another thing. He's done it before. He's done it pretty much everywhere he's gone. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen at Auburn, but he's doing the things that he's done everywhere else. I'm starting to bring in players. I'm starting to make my roster better. Now I'm going to go hopefully start knocking off some games, knocking off some teams that I probably shouldn't. I think that's probably step 2. That's probably step 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this roster shakes out after the portal period and early signing day. And we'll see how it goes. It should be a lot of fun. So last thing I want to talk about, I said I want to do a player spotlight. I cannot stress enough, after watching highlight films, after watching game films, after watching this championship game, how incredible Cam Coleman is, and how big of an addition he is to this team next year. He's an early enrollee. He's going to be here for the spring semester. He's going to go through spring ball. So he's going to basically be almost like a redshirt freshman when he's going to be way ahead of the curve. And he's already way ahead of the curve. I think he could have played at Auburn this year. I mean, he's 6'3", 200, and he can absolutely fly. And he's got incredible range, long arms, doesn't drop anything. Like he's everything that you want in a Hugh Freeze stud outside receiver. He's everything you could ever dream of. And one thing that I love about him, so much so that when I watch his highlight films, I almost have to watch it in a cold shower. It just gets me so bothered. He has amazing ball skills. Okay. What are ball skills? Okay. There is something so huge to being able to, when the ball is in the air, get yourself in position to make a play, whether that's in the air, whether that's throttling your speed down the field, whether that's being able to get your body in between you and the defender, in between the ball and the defender, get your body in between the ball and the defender. It's the little thing that's sort of instinctual. There's not a drill for it. There's not like you can't go hire a wide receiver coach that's just I'm great at teaching ball skills. No, it's kind of like just being able to track a ball in the air and be able to run and not fall down. And then if it's over your head a little bit, you're able to adjust your body to be able to get in a position to make a catch. Those things, if there's a defender draped over you, you're not able to lose focus. You're able to reach over him or reach around him and make the play. If you go watch I think it was it's possibly the second time they play. I think it's the time they played Auburn High School in the playoffs. If you go to Huddle, I think you can watch the highlights from that particular game, but they throw a deep ball to Cam. He's got two receivers on him, and he goes up in the air and he makes a circus catch, but it's a circus catch that he makes look easy because he's able to get himself in position in the air. That's like, and make the play. Like I can think of two plays in general this year where plays that I feel like Cam Coleman makes early, the very first game of the year, the very first drive of the year. We throw a fade to, I'll want fades. I love the fade. I think when you got a guy like Cam Coleman or, a lot of times even Rivaldo, he's made some big plays, but when you can just throw the ball up and your guy that you just know is better than everybody can just go up and get the ball. We did it to Shane Hooks, and he got himself out of position. It wasn't even a bad throw. He hit the pylon. Like it's there. Good receivers are able to get theirself in position to make the play. We think that like these quarterbacks that hit these receivers in stride, they're just amazingly accurate and all this, whatever. But in reality, that receiver has just as much claim to that pass being accurate as a quarterback, because he was either able to throttle up, throttle down, or get in position to make the play. Another thing that's jumping on time, jumping up on time. Bless his heart, Camden Brown. I can't remember exactly which game it is. For some reason, I feel like it's the Vanderbilt game. He gets a one-on-one matchup like down the field. Like this is you're Cam Coleman size, but he jumps too early. And now you're hanging in the air. And now you can't make the play. Like little things like that, like timing. It's all an instinct. And Cam Coleman has all of the instincts. So, like I said, I'm watching the state championship game. It's late in the game. It's a close game, 14-10. Or 14-13 actually. Phoenix City's got to make a play. They throw a slant to Cam, and he dusts two SEC commits. One 2024, Caleb Harris, who's committed to Auburn. He dusts Caleb Harris, absolutely walks away from him. And then Anquan Fagans, who could be a 5-star in the 2025 class, who was committed to USC. I think he decommitted. Auburn really likes him. Just walks right past. Absolutely. This is not like this is not just your average high school team. Like, this is a loaded team. On the very first drive of the game, he has a 30-yard third down conversion, easy over the shoulder play. The thing that I notice is the space between him and an offender at all times. Like, he's just able to just get open. He had another big third down catch where he turned an out route into a 15-yard gain. And then he had his big play, the 73-yard touchdown, which was a slant where he shook the corner off of the line, made the catch, and then literally was shot out of a cannon for 73 yards. Like, the dude's unreal. I'm just telling you, he's going to play early. He's going to play often as long as he stays healthy, and he makes this team better the minute he steps on campus. He makes this team better. He's that good. It's hard for me to find a hole in his game. Like, he's got hands, he's got size, he's got speed. He can get up, he can get down. He can run over you, he can run around you. It's just a guy like that. The player that he reminds me the most of, that if you want to think about an Auburn player that like to compare him to, and this is not even really that good of a comparison because I think Cam's better, and I think Cam is much, much faster, but he reminds me he plays a lot like a Duke Williams. If you remember Duke, super physical, amazing ball skills. His ball skills made up for a lack of athletic ability because he was not that fast. He did not have a lot of moves. Like, he wasn't going to juke you, run around you. He was going to moss you. He was going to catch a slant and run through your face. But you're talking ball skills like Duke Williams, but just like incredibly faster, just way faster. So I'm huge. I'm high on Cam Coleman. I was so pumped when he finally popped. I think we had a chance with him even if Jimbo wasn't fired. I don't think you want to. I know people are going to say, "Oh, the only reason you got him is because had a coaching change," but I'm not 1,000% sure that we don't have a really good chance, even if Jimbo is still there. I just think that Hugh kept on. He kept on. He kept after him. He did not give up. He kept calling him. He kept texting him. He kept telling him how much we needed him. And that's the kind of battles that he's willing to go toe to toe with and win. And I think he's a guy that's going to do that a lot more than he's not. So I think that's probably going to be it for tonight. I'm probably going to be back on Tuesday, and we're going to go Tuesday, Thursdays, see how it goes. There may be so much information that comes out after this weekend that we may have to go a little bit more. We'll just kind of play it by ear, but it's just say for right now, we're going to go Tuesdays and Thursdays and have some little recap action, maybe some dumb hot takes that I have often. And I'm probably going to be wrong about a lot of stuff because I'm just a casual. You heard me be called just a casual. So, but we're going to have fun. We're going to laugh. We're going to have, hopefully, eventually going to have some guests, maybe some good video content. But I'm just really excited. I'm really excited to be able to talk more about Auburn football, talk more about we're going to have to talk about basketball, talk more about Auburn in general. And I'm just really looking forward to it. So this is just episode 1 of hopefully very, very many of the Top Button podcast. So get buttoned up, get flattened out, and y'all have a great day.